I'm not sure we can expect any different at the moment. I'm not sure. I think a lot of us were obviously quite negative about the today. Palace in a good run of form. But we really didn't help ourselves at all today, did we? We had a bit of a conversation backstage. Ten Hag, it wouldn't surprise me if he does go tonight, but I really feel like they'll probably hold out until the end of the season. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say really. I mean, we've got 3 games left. I think we all want it over, and I think we're all very much looking forward to the summer and seeing what happens. Getting the right people in place, making some sales. I think that's the first thing we need: sales. And I think barring 6 players, perhaps you'd sell them all. But then it's trying to dish them, push them out or get them out, get the money, get a relatively decent amount of money, and then try to recruit properly. But then again, you look at the previous summers, you can't just bring in, a bit like Chelsea, 10 new players and expect it to work. You have to do things in increments, and it's a massive, massive problem we've got. And we'll have to see how it goes. Reece, Maisy, thank you very much for joining me. Evan in the comments already. Who would have thought it? This is going to be a hard show today for the septic loss. He's a Chelsea fan, by the way, just to be very, very clear. So he's been an arse. And then he always comes in the group chats and says this as well, you bastard. Sean in the chat as well. Everyone else, get your comments in. Tell us how you're feeling. What went wrong? I know nothing went right. That's for sure. And Dex joining us now as well. Hello, buddy. I hope you're well. Reece, talk to me, buddy.
Oh, where do I start, Mark? Where do I start? Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we felt as if we had much kind of going for us into the game. And we knew we had quite a lot of injuries coming into this. And we know how poorly we've been over the last few games and the majority of the season, but I felt as if we were going to at least put a bit of a showing in today, but completely, once again, I
feel like we felt this every time, though, Reece. I don't know what's going to change, I get where you're coming from, though.
No, I mean, definitely, yeah. I mean, we were talking about it a bit last week. I was on Callum's show and we were looking at the fixtures, really. And I think we looked at, obviously we've got the Arsenal game coming up next. And it's funnily enough, I can see those players doing something in that game. It just really kind of put the shit on the cake, if you like. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but it's
something like that. It was something like that. Yeah.
It's just been a weird season. I think, Ten Hag's been obviously the butt of a lot of that issue. I can't really put my finger on the problems. I think last year we had a couple of these, the last couple of seasons we've had issues, and you can sort of put your finger on it. It was a manager, it was a tactics, it was the way we were playing. There was positives in there where you could feel as if a new manager came in and the tactics were right, things would start coming together. And with this, it's just a mess.
But would they, though, Reece? So we were talking about this backstage just before you joined us. My worry is, at the moment, you get rid of Ten Hag, who has had an awful season. I am not disputing that. But he was also very good last season, and I really feel like he should be based upon that. After the summer, we talked about he wasn't backed properly again, and that's obviously coming to fruition now because they're bringing all these people in. Technical director of football, Ineos have come in, and now they're going to start recruiting correctly. So obviously we've not been recruiting correctly before. So you've got that, you've got all the injuries, you've got 5 managers worth of players at the club, and also Shu mentioned this in a group chat. I feel that if you just get rid of another manager and still don't give it time, we have to work on a 3-year plan at the minimum. You're then going to set the message to say the players have won again. Yeah. As soon as you cross that white line, and someone else put in another a thing in the chat earlier, all this tactic stuff is rubbish. It's players that win and lose your games. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No. I think you're right. By the way, Mark. I think what I was trying to get at was that we could sort of put a finger on a little bit of kind of the reasons why we were sort of, we weren't that far away with Ollie. We didn't feel like we were that far away with Ollie. Obviously, it was that season when he got second. There was a tactical issue a lot around that, and big games where he faltered, and you felt like if somebody grabbed hold of it and made those changes, and obviously there's a structure issue and there's the Glazers going on in the background and that kind of whole structure piece as well. But we've regressed so poorly, so badly, Mark. And I don't believe it's anything. It's solely down to, you know, a bad window. It can't. It just can't be. You know, those
No, I'm just
tonight.
using that as an example. I think it's a lot of things, and I think that you've got so many fires that you need to put out. How do you know how to start? Where do you start? You know, all these things you've got to do, and I just think it's easy for us. And again, I'm not disputing that he's been very poor this season, but I just think it's easy for us, someone that knows fuck all, essentially, looked from the outside in and think, right, manager every time. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve it. If he got sacked tonight, absolutely. But I just think that there's just a few more things that we need to really iron out before we can then actually put some responsibility on either the players, the manager, whatever else it might be. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And look, I'll let the other guys sort of have their say a little bit in a minute, but
yeah, sorry, I've broken you up a little bit. Sorry, buddy.
No, you're fine, mate. We're all kind of all over the place tonight, aren't we? I think just looking at the game in particularly in terms of kind of how that's gone tonight, I think it's just, for me, it's another example of, and look, I'm not tally blaming Ten Hag. It's kind of, if I'm honest, I'm not blaming Ten Hag solely at all. It's there's a lot of other issues to do with that performance tonight, but I think it's just I know we've got again a lot of injuries, but just a tactical kind of I don't know if it's naivety or stubbornness to just carry on playing the same way against every team, exactly the same way in every
changes every week, is it?
It's the same way, no matter what competition, what day of the week it is, what team we're playing, what injuries we've got. It doesn't really matter. He's playing the same way in the same formation every time, and it's just sometimes we've been poor, especially away from home. Let's try and sit back a little bit. It's not what we want to see, but as a manager, you're thinking, right, okay, well, we haven't got the personnel I really want. We've got to shut up shop a little bit because I haven't got my starting 11. If I haven't got my starting 22, almost, it's like I've got the kids coming in now on sat on the bench and watching this as well. So let's play a different way, and it just seems to be. That's quite naive just to carry on playing the same way and expecting that the team's just going to go out there and do something when we haven't done it all season.
Yeah, absolutely right. Good points, well made. Maisy, thank you very much for joining me. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be the same, but how are you feeling after that?
It's just an absolute car crash, to be honest. It was just a mess from minute one. We got absolutely outschooled in every single place on the pitch. Elise Eze was eventually using us as a training session, and they probably got subbed off because they had a harder opponent on Saturday against Wolves. That's how it's got to with Manchester United. No team genuinely phases anymore, and I know a lot of people are going to play Eric Ten Hag, and I can see people are going to say, right, he's done this 11, he's put these tactics, but I'm looking on this pitch and the players aren't even doing the basics. This is the problem is they can't even string a pass together, and that's not something that Eric Ten Hag and the training coaches should be teaching these players in training. They should be already doing that. This is what semi-professional players are actually doing, and a player can't do. If a player can't do that at Manchester United, if they can't string a pass together, if they don't want to even play for the badge, I don't even know why they're here. And I'll tell you one good reason why they actually are here, and that's down to the recruitment, the negotiators, because you're looking at the players who join Manchester United. One example, I'm not even going to name names for some of these players because I don't think it's right for me to do so, but a player at a previous club on 25k a week at their previous club come to Manchester United, they move to 200k a week, living it large. They may treating it like it's a holiday, because let's be real, if you're having them kind of wages, you're not going to give a crap.
Yeah, absolutely right. Deck, I appreciate you joining us tonight, mate. I know you were having a drink, so what an absolute soldier. Yeah, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, complete shit show from minute 1 to minute 96. I thought it was a disgraceful performance by the players. If you can't motivate yourself to play for Manchester United, there's something wrong with you. No manager should have to tell you to go out and do the basics. You should know and have enough respect for yourself as a player to be able to do that. The only positive from tonight was the away fans. You could hear them from start to finish. They were absolutely exceptional.
Yeah.
And if that club had any balls about it, they'd be refunding those players to spend, or those fans. Because I'll tell you one thing, what I can't even call it a performance. It was just lack of effort by the players. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't blame Eric to a certain extent. I think no matter what 11 you put out, you have to show a bit more balls than they did tonight. It was disgraceful. I actually thought it was sickening to see. And we're lucky to get away with a 4-0. It could have been way worse. Look, I know we had 2 disallowed goals, but you can't be dependent on that against Crystal Palace. We're just not turning up to these games. I'll be there next Sunday. I'm hoping Reece is right and they actually put in a performance against Arsenal.
I hope for your sake they do.
I'm not
otherwise
holding
it could
out a
be
lot.
Another embarrassment, couldn't it? So,
yeah, if we play like we did tonight, Arsenal will dismantle us next weekend. Yeah, if we put in a performance like that, we're in big bother.
Yeah. I think I'm going to steer away from talking about United tonight and their performance. I want to talk about some players on the Palace side, just to try and keep it positive, if that makes sense. Just a couple of players, obviously, that have been linked with. Going back to what you said, Dec, Jamie Carragher has spoken about the away fans too, who also I want to say well done, for sitting through that and getting through and being as loud as you were. It's always excellent stuff. He said they are absolutely fantastic, unbelievable support. The players don't deserve it. There was I didn't see it myself actually, but I think Anthony was covering his mouth and appeared angry after he was taken off, and Jeremy Carragher has gone on to say absolutely embarrassing. So I wanted to talk about Elise and Eze. Elise has been strongly linked with us, as it's gone in the comments tonight as well. He took his goal, 2 goals really well tonight, didn't he? Looked exceptional, very good with his feet, technically brilliant. Is he someone, Reece, that you'd like to look at in the summer? And obviously I don't want to go through rumours and that kind of thing, but as I say, we're playing them tonight. Good to talk about them now, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's, I think some of the, just generally in that Palace side, some of those English players that they fielded as well. I think that's such a big important thing for us to look at. And this is an English league, and I think we're so quick sometimes to look abroad, look at foreign players who've maybe not made it in this league, and just assume that that they're going to come good and we're going to find that next big star. But looking at players in the league and looking at players that are doing it week in, week out, which a lot of the teams against us at the bottom half of the table have done this season, and he was another example of it tonight, where it's just, he's been around in the league for quite some time, but then he's stepping up and he's showing us what he can do. And obviously since Roy's obviously left Crystal Palace, they've obviously turned another corner, haven't they, as well, and they've got pace now. I mean, they've always had that pace, but they're starting to use that pace, aren't they? They're starting to use that skill and pace that they've got, and it's frightening. It is, and they've got a big striker in that Matete as well, or I can't read if it's Matete or Matata.
Matata, yeah. I think you were right the first time, buddy. But he's an absolute powerhouse, isn't he? He's so big in the air. He's
ridiculous. I mean, he kind of showed Højlund what he should have been doing. And I know there was a lot of feedback on Højlund regarding kind of service to him, and I do agree with that. But I think in terms of some of the not so pretty stuff that strikers have to do, the holding up, the strength play, it's a lot that Højlund can learn from for next season, because that brings the team into play and brings those wingers into play, and he wasn't doing that tonight. And he was class.
Just quickly, Reece, sorry, buddy. I mean, you look at Højlund. We weren't playing particularly well in the first game that he appeared against Arsenal, but we did make something out of something, and we were being a bit more creative. But you did see, and it seems to have regressed over time, him holding the ball up, bringing players in. And I don't give a shit about all this inside forward stuff. You can still play as a winger and do the right thing, move into the right spaces, depending on where the striker is, right? But he has regressed, hasn't he, over time, and he needs to kind of improve that after the summer.
I think so. I think there's a lot of players who've kind of, we're putting a lot of faith in some of these players that just haven't really kind of had time to sort of bed in, and we're expecting them to hit the ground running. Højlund's coming into a relatively new league, into a new league for him, and into a massive team, expected to score goals straight off the bat. It's just not worked. I'm sure it will work. I hope it will work in the future. Garnacho's already had a hatful of games under his belt. He's only 19. Kobe Mainoo's now thrown in games like this. He's only 18, 19 as well. It's just a mess, Mark. It's a mess from front to back. It's a total mess. There's players there that obviously need to go in the summer. There's obviously a hell of a lot of new players that need to come in. And I still hark back to
one summer. Do you know what I mean? It just worries me a bit. But
I hark back to the Ranić sort of comments at Ranić days and there's a lot of truth in what he said in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of just reacting to that, and that's probably got a lot to do with the structure and the Glazer situation, but instead of reacting to that, we've ignored it, and it's got worse, and the rot's got worse, and now we're here where we're really suffering because of it. But I mean, again, just to kind of, I suppose from a Palace point of view, fair play to them. They were class tonight again. Yeah. We made a team who were mid-table. Let's be honest, look a lot better than they actually should have been tonight, but they were very deserving in the win. We were awful, and they were class. So that's off to them. So
absolutely, I thought tonight was all because Rashford couldn't track back, but perhaps not. Anyway, it's over to Bruno. Someone else that we were missing tonight has really come into a bit of form, Maisy. We really missed him tonight with creativity. I think we probably were expecting too much from Mount. I do think Mount will come good, and I do believe that he will. But when you've been so injured this season and lacking a lot of minutes, it's very difficult to come in and be able to replace someone like Bruno Fernandes. But Bruno was a massive miss tonight. And talk to me about Mount as well.
To be honest, going on to Mount first, I didn't think he had the worst of games. I think there was more players there was players in that Manchester United team tonight who had a worse game than him by a mile. I did think he went invisible at time to time. Don't get me wrong, but this is what the problem is with Manchester United this season, that everyone's getting thrown back in from their injuries, because we're getting even more injuries. Like Johnny Evans has been thrown back into that squad after having the injuries, and it happened with Martinez this season as well. We're constantly throwing in players back and forth into the squad. They're picking up injuries all over again, and I think it's hard to find that rhythm for the players. I think eventually, he will come good, and I think a lot of people are scapegoating him at the moment. I think it's probably not. I think it's probably more on the fact that Chelsea fans are breathing under the net, because they want nothing more than for him to fail. Let's be honest. And if you was a Chelsea fan, you probably want the same. You would if it was a Man United player and he's been one of your own and stuff. So, but I think Bruno was definitely a big miss, and I think it has now silenced the critics who say, right, Bruno needs to be dropped. Bruno's terrible. Bruno does this. Bruno does that. But let's be real when we say this is. I'm not saying necessarily we wouldn't have conceded 4 goals if Bruno was on the pitch, because Bruno's an attacking midfielder at the end of the day. Yeah. But could we have had more creativity tonight? 100%. So, and I just don't think the players. I know we already touched on Højlund a little bit. They're not complimenting him at all. It's just the whole system just doesn't work whatsoever. And this is what my problem is when we've initially signed Højlund, for instance, is he's going to have to adapt his game altogether, because you look at the Manchester United wingers that Erik ten Hag is playing, they are ones who want to cut in and shoot. They're not ones who want to pass the ball, or they'll only pass to certain individuals. You look at Anthony, I've never seen him pass to Højlund, if you want me to be honest. I never even seen him pass to Rashford. I only see him ever pass to Casemiro or Bruno. He only passes to certain individual players, and that isn't a team performance at the end of the day. And I think if Højlund wants to succeed at Manchester United, he needs to turn like a Harry Kane. In the respect of, he needs to go in deep and find his own balls. He needs to create himself now. I think that's the only way he's gonna succeed at Man United, unless we do make drastic changes.
Yeah, absolutely right. And ironically, Rashford has supplied Højlund with the most goals this season, and the relationship between him and Rashford is far better than anyone else. Anything more to go on?
Sorry, just a quick one, Mark, on
Yeah.
that. I saw Richard James's comment there on Garnacho and getting Giggsy comparison. I mean, I get what he's saying. I mean, yeah, Garnacho is experienced, but I mean, the team that Giggsy were coming into was hell of a lot different.
Yeah.
The players that he had around him to the one that Garnacho's come into, and that's my biggest issue. We're throwing in players not because they can bed in and sort of learn off these experienced, hard nuts like Brian Robsons and people like that. We haven't got a Brian Robson in the team. We haven't got a Gary Pallister in the team. We haven't got a Mike Phelan in the team. We haven't got these players in the team that are going to show Garnacho how to play. We're relying on Garnacho to be a Giggs of 28, 29, not a Giggs of 18. And that's the difference. We're going to ruin him before he's even started. That was my point. So
yeah, great points. Actually, we lack a huge amount of leadership, don't we? I know we've given Bruno the captaincy, but I think really he's probably the best of a bad bunch. Who else do you give it to? I think, as you're saying, we lack massive leadership. He goes on to say, with the right players brought in over the summer, we can make top 4. End of next season, but we need players who will apply themselves properly. What do you think of this deck?
I think it's going to be a massive rebuild. It's going to be huge. Can it be done in one transfer window? I don't think so. Because we have to get so many players out of that team. And I think if we make 4 or 5 signings, it's going to be huge. The biggest job though is getting rid of those players, because
massive.
Realistically, who'd want them? There's no one. Elise is probably scared to come to United now after seeing that display. He's probably thinking,
who'd blame him?
Why would I go? Why would I take a step backwards to go to it? The only thing we've in our favour is Manchester United is and always will be a massive draw for players. The history of the club and everything, but it's going to be a huge rebuild for us. I think Mount can come good. I think if he gets a good pre-season and full training, he can come good. I never agreed with him getting the 7 jersey. I've stated that many times. I don't think he should have got that. I think that jersey's too iconic just to be given out straight away without proving yourself. But I definitely think there's a decent player in him if he can stay injury free. But come here, I'm old enough that I've seen bad times, great times, epic times. Just at the moment now, we're going through a very, very poor era as a United fan. But can it come good? Yeah, 100% it can, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the summer goes now we start, and hopefully we'll get drawn into it again and actually do something with it and continue on. Levi here, United aren't a top side anymore, going to take years before they're back in the top 4 again, and kind of echoing exactly what Dex said there. Right, we're going to move on to ratings. I know it's pointless, but try and humour me if you can, and do your best. Be as positive as you can, but I appreciate there's going to be some very low scores here. We'll get this out of the way, and everyone can go and get some great sleep and probably be reminded of the shit show in the morning, unfortunately. But there you go. Right, Andre and Hanna, I'm going to come to you, Reece. As you know, we're a part of many, many groups that like to go in on him. I think it was a bit harsh on him tonight, and I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think he did all right, sort of on the ball. To be fair, I think where he was maybe the third goal, was it? I can't remember if it was the third goal. Was it Elise's second goal?
Yeah, third.
Where it was a bit more down the middle, and I thought he could have done a little bit better. But generally, I don't think he did anything wrong. It's probably just because of the performance, and he's obviously conceded 4 goals. I probably have to give him a 6 out of 10, and I think that's mainly just down to the fact that we've been so poor. I don't think anybody's going to get above that really tonight because no one was good enough. But no, he was all right on the ball. I think he's showing more and more that he's got those feet that Ten Hag obviously was looking for in a goalkeeper, and he's got that distribution. And as the season's gone on, he has actually improved, to be fair, because I was probably one of his biggest critics at the start of the season, and he seems to have done.
Yes, you were.
Yeah, I'm happy to admit it as well. But obviously getting rid of David De Gea when he was such an impeccable shot stopper was hard to kind of like to swallow when you saw some of the mistakes that Hanna was making at the beginning of the season. But yeah, he's definitely turned a corner. I think his feet are definitely have shown kind of what he's about. But tonight, I think it's got to be a 6 out of 10 because of the performance overall, I think, to be fair.
Yeah. I think he'll be one of the players that is kept, actually. And I think the fortunate thing going forward is a lot of teams now play up from the back, and he does have that ability. I think he has regressed with the shot stopping this season. But to be honest with you, when you're in a team like this that is absolutely getting sliced through in the midfield and the defence, and you're relying on playing progressive football in order to play how he wants to play, who can blame him? You need to try and look at the bigger picture if we can. Right, let's move on to Dalot and Aaron Wan-Bissaka then. So for some reason, and I know the conversations we had tonight, I feel like he's playing them on the opposite side. You know, we know Dalot can play on the left. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's far better on the right. So I'm not quite sure why they were the other way around tonight. But anyway, Maisy, over to you on those two and their scores, please.
They're not going to be pretty scores, and I must be honest. But I'll probably have to. I'm going to give Dalot probably a 4, a Wan-Bissaka a 3, just because this is not me. I think Wan-Bissaka was very poor. I think he was probably the second worst defender after Casemiro, in my opinion. But the problem is I don't. In ways of blaming, because I think you should have done better here, but then I'm looking at it and go, why are you playing on the left-hand side? And that's something that you've got to look at Eric Ten Hag and think, why are you doing this? And the problem, to be honest, when it was against Liverpool, I was like, you know what, fair enough, Wan-Bissaka playing on the left side, because if you need to keep Mohamed Salah quiet.
Yeah.
If you do that, you put Wan-Bissaka where he plays, and I completely agree with that. But for the rest of the season, keeping him there, I think you're leaving yourself very, very exposed on that side. So I just don't think it works whatsoever. And I think, in my opinion, Wan-Bissaka and Anthony actually complement each other a little bit better compared to Wan-Bissaka and Garnacho. And I don't know whether it's just because Garnacho might be a tiny bit more inexperienced as such, but you've got Dalot who helps him a little bit, Garnacho a little bit with his crossing and things. So I think it probably helps a lot better. And another thing is, as well as Dalot plays as left back this season, he actually done it on loan with Milan. He played there all season as the left back. So I'm absolutely confused why we're actually doing this, especially this season. And Elise has literally might as well have had Wan-Bissaka a new bumhole. That was how bad it got at this. It was terrible. So yeah, 3 for Wan-Bissaka, 4 for Dalot.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's funny, isn't it? Earlier on the season, we saw Dalot on that left-hand side more and a lot more effective. And I understand, particularly against Liverpool, you play him, as you say, on that left-hand side to keep him out. But I'm not quite sure if that was necessary tonight. Who knows? Right then, Deck, I've got you 2 really good ones here. Johnny Evans and Casemiro, over to you.
Oh, Jesus. I'm not going to be too hard on Johnny Evans. You know what? He's come in at 36 and he's helped United as best he can. I think it was a mistake to sell him when they actually sold him, and at least he tries, and he's a pure professional. He's interested in the club. I'd actually give Johnny Evans a 6. I'm not going to disrespect him by giving him anything less. Now, Casemiro, what a shit show. Jesus Christ.
Tell me how you really feel.
Oh, man. He turned in one of his worst performances ever. 1, not a hope. He doesn't even deserve a 2. I just thought he was cat. Everything that he did was wrong. His decision-making was poor. It just was off for him tonight. But I think he's been found out this season. And the Premiership is just literally too fast for him. Look, he's been a quality player. And that's the problem. He has been a quality player. He's been found out this season, and the legs are run off him. He just can't sustain it in the Premier League anymore, in my opinion. But yeah, I couldn't give him any higher than 1. It was definitely his worst game of the season, in my opinion, anyway.
I agree. He was absolutely terrible today. I've never seen a player fall off so much. I think he was an absolute blessing. I don't care about the price tag. I don't care about the weekly wages. You know, that's United's fault. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. He was superb last season, but he's
Yeah.
absolutely fallen off. And yeah, we spoke about it on a show a couple of weeks ago. Reece, you might be with me. We're talking about another number 6, and I think that's, we need one or two now. And I think if we can somehow get some money off Saudi, I don't care how much it is, to be honest with you, just get something in. I think that's where he should be going in the summer for sure. Right, let's do the first two midfielders, Ericsson and Mainu, and I'll give that obviously to you, Reece.
Yeah, I think they just. I think they did the best that they could. I think they got a little overrun. Obviously, Ericsson's legs are not what they once were, and Mainu's, I think, in a similar position to Garnacho, where he's still learning his trade. He's still a young kid, and he's been thrown into some big games in a poor Man United team, and then put some cracking performance in this season, and expected to sort of just pick us up and turn us around and almost do what kind of Bruno's been doing in a different sort of way, but just kind of pick up the whole team. And again, it's another example of a kid kind of been asked to do too much tonight. I think that's what it was. And we just like a bit of bite in there, don't we, Mark? That's what it is. Somebody with a little bit of aggression, that their job is just to break up a bit of play. And you've got the classiness of Mainu or Ericsson just to keep us ticking on forward. And I think when you've got both of them in there, you just haven't really got that kind of bite. And yeah, I mean, I like them both. I like them both. I'm a midfielder when I used to play football, and I like their style. Really like them both, but unfortunately, I just think they don't complement each other very well. Because there's not enough legs, and Ericsson and Maine is doing too much. So yeah, I think again, it's both probably about a 6, really, 5 to a 6 out of 10, which is harsh, but I think they weren't good enough tonight. So yeah,
I think you make a good point. Actually, I think they don't complement each other very well. I think Ericsson, he really has lost his legs, and I think, as you say, Manu is expected to do too much. I think you need someone in there, i.e. a Casemiro of last season, to break up the play and then get them to do the little bits, the technical bits, the kind of pass and move kind of bits. And yeah, you're going to see a disgruntled midfield if you have them playing together there. Over to you then, Maisy, with Mount. I know we spoke about him briefly earlier, but a rating for him, please.
Yeah, he's definitely not the worst player on the pitch. I think he started off very, very well. He was getting himself in the right areas and things, but he did go quiet for a lot of the game, and he did end up shifting positions and things as well to the right wing position when Anthony got subbed off at Amrabat. But I think for me it is his first start since October, so I can't exactly be too harsh on him. And another thing is that's the first time he's actually played in that position for Manchester United as well, because he has been playing a lot deeper when he has played for us. He has been playing in the 8 role, or he has been playing out on the wings. So it is the first time we actually have seen him in the natural position, but I just don't think it really worked out for him. I agreed with what Dex said earlier on. He is definitely going to come good, hopefully, but he definitely shouldn't have got that shirt number. As much as I like Mount, I agree. He should have probably got given a completely different shirt number. And again, that's down on whoever gave him that decision. So, and it's just going to see now in the next couple of years or so, is that number going to eventually be a bit too heavy on him just because of how iconic that number is and the legends that have had that shirt number 2. I'm going to probably give him a 5 average performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think the number really means too much at the moment. I understand where you come from, and I know there's a lot of weight behind that number, but I think fundamentally you go on and you should be able to play football. Sometimes the pressure can get you. We saw that with Valencia under Sir Alex, but we could afford it then, couldn't we? Let's see what happens next season. Hopefully less injuries. Hopefully he plays a bit more, and then perhaps we'll all be talking differently next season, and maybe he was good enough for it. We'll have to wait and see. Ten Hag has done his post-match, so I'm just going to go through a couple of things he said, and if any of you want to come in and talk about what he said, absolutely fine. He said, it's clear we underperformed. First time I've heard him say that in a few weeks, I think. We should have kept fighting like the fans did. Also talks about the fans as well. There are reasons everyone has seen our backline, but we have to deal with it. He goes on to say about Casemiro, you can't put this to one player. We have 9 points to play for. I will keep fighting. Anyone want to come in on any of those comments?
At least he acknowledged the fans, and he acknowledged the fact that the players on the pitch should be shown a lot more fight, because that wasn't there tonight. And I don't know whether they're trying to throw him under the bus or what they were doing, but the team performance was so poor. Look, we've all seen United defeats, but there's a manner that you can be beaten in. But when a team shows respect for the badge and shows the fans that they're going to fight till the bitter end, you'll put up with it then. But when you see a piss poor performance like that, where you're questioning a lot of the players, that's where we as fans have to draw a line. We can't have respect for them if they don't respect the club that they're playing for. And I think that's our biggest issue with the players these days.
Yeah, absolutely right. Jamie Carragher has since said this is one of the most poorly coached teams in the Premier League. That isn't an opinion. That's a fact. There you go. So, right, I'm going to come to you, Maisy. No, Deck, I'm going to come to you on Garnacho, please, buddy.
I just think Garnacho's tired. There's been too much expectation put on him. He's not the finished article yet. He's one for the future. But if we put too much pressure on him now, I think it could backfire on him. We need to be building a team. We've Garnacho, we've Mainu, we've Højlund. I definitely think Onana's going to be there. There's too much expectation, and I think Reece hit upon it. That's where Mainu has been struggling as well. There's too much expected of them. They need older players there, showing them the ropes, and we need leaders. That's what we need. Yeah. And we definitely miss Bruno tonight, because as much as I've given out about him moaning and whinging, he's actually shown in his last few performances that he deserved the captain's armband, and he's literally dragged us through games to get results. But Garnacho, I'm not going to be too hard on it. I think the season's been too long for him and too much has been put on him. So I'll give him a 6, because at least he goes out and tries, but
he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
he does
too much too soon.
Give it his all.
Yeah,
he does. So I'll come to you, Reece, on Anthony.
I mean, for the sake of it, I don't really want to say too much about him, because I just don't think he deserves to be spoken about too much. I mean, it's another terrible performance, Mark. I mean, the guy doesn't want to run. He's the opposite to what Olise and Eze were doing tonight. He's the absolute opposite. He's the antithesis of like a dribbling, fast-paced, adventurous winger. He just doesn't want to dribble at anybody. He's happy to cut back on his left, knock it back to the full back, start again. It's methodical. It's easy to mark. It's boring. And to have the audacity to be complaining and moaning when has he started the last 2 or 3, and he's put in a similar performance every single time.
Yeah. Did we get him off Wish? Because he's. I mean,
who was the one we were expecting?
Yeah, I definitely think whoever actually identified him as a player we needed probably needs glasses, or never looked at a video of him or something, because he is so predictable. It's ridiculous.
It is terrible, Beck, isn't it? I don't know where. I mean, for me, and again, I suppose I'm coming back to Tenaga here a little bit, but he's been adamant that whether it's been Rashford or Antony or Garnacho, or whether it's been on those wings, that they play on their opposite foot on those wings. So that means they've got to come inside. They've got to come inside, and they've got to then either shoot or find an inside pass. Yeah. It's not working. It hasn't worked for a year, 2 years. We even did it 3 years ago. So go basic. Go put Antony on the left, put Garnacho on the right, or whoever else with the right foot, and go Antonio Valencia. You mentioned Valencia. Go Valencia. All Valencia did had a right foot, and he just crossed the ball in.
We used to learn about it, didn't we? But we'd really want those things these days, don't we?
How does Anthony get in ahead of Ahmed every game.
I
It,
know.
it makes no sense to me. I can't figure it out. I don't know,
It-
just pictures of Ten Hag or something or what.
But equally, Jack, I think you've got to, you can't, because this is what he does as well. He goes, right, okay, it didn't work with Anthony this game. We'll go with Ahmad on the right next game. But it isn't going to work because the same tactics are having the same results.
Yeah.
You can't keep
And
putting
actually,
people in positions.
I agree. And actually, one thing I will say about Ten Hag over the 2 seasons is he has brought through the players at the right time. He's been very good at that. Casemiro last season, Manu this season, Garnacho. Do you know what I mean? I just feel that we can all sit here and moan, but I think you're absolutely right, Reece. It doesn't change anything. One player in this team cannot change anything. And if you've got the same progressive football, the tactics are going to be the same. And there will be on him, and that's not what you want as a 19-year-old kid or whatever his age is. I think it's a bit dangerous, and I'm not surprised to not see him start every week. And I think it moves the problem to someone else when they do. So we've got to be careful with that. Right. Last but not least, Maisy, as I said earlier, thanks for coming on tonight. And Hoyland, last one out of 10.
Highland, is another one. I can't rate him too harshly. He's still extremely raw at the moment, and the players around him just really, really don't help him. It's the point you just almost feel sorry for him. You literally think to yourself when you're watching it, "Bloody get me on the pitch, I'll help Highland out." That's literally how I'm feeling at this point for Highland, because I feel so sorry for the lad, because you can tell he will really try. He puts 100% in every single game. I'm not saying his decision makings are the best, because there could have been times where he could have used the other foot and stuff, but that's all the part of the learning curve. And you've seen the strikers at Man United in the past, who's been inexperienced. They've had an experienced striker with them to support them. He needs an Edinson Cavani, or he needs a Zlatan Ibrahimovic alongside him on the training pitch, or if Hoyle's coming out as a substitute, for instance, to help him out, just so he can learn a little bit more, because he just needs that little bit of mentorship, he needs a bit of something, and he needs players to really, really support him. I'm going to give him the same rating as Mount. I'm going to give him a 5, because, as I say, I can't rate him too harshly. I just think he's not being supported at all for me.
Yeah, I agree. We said this, we sound like a broken record, but he is feeding off scraps at the moment. But I think that he has regressed a little bit. But everyone has this season, and it's kind of expected. But that doesn't mean the ability's gone. And hopefully next season, with some sort of experienced forward to come in, hopefully he'll get back to his best. Anyway, guys, I don't want to keep you any longer. We've got 3 more of these bastards to do until the summer. So hopefully we can start getting some 3 points. Hopefully I'll see some of you guys back next time when we do get 3 points. I'm sure we will by the end of the season. Who knows? But I do appreciate all 3 of you being here tonight. So thanks very much. Thanks for everyone in the comments as well. And obviously get liking, get subscribing and all that jazz. And we will see you next time.